Chapter 1: The Night Shift Begins. The rain hit the windows of Havenwood Medical Center like tiny drumbeats, relentless and cold. Marcus adjusted the strap of his security badge and stepped into the sterile lobby, the faint hum of fluorescent lights greeting him like an old, unwelcome friend. He was new to the night shift, and the building already felt too big, too empty, too alive in its silence. A damp chill ran down his spine as he pushed the security cart toward the elevator. The first night was always the hardest, he reminded himself. Empty halls, shadowed corners, easy for your imagination to run wild. "All right, Marcus," he muttered to himself, flipping through the security logs. "Just walk the rounds. Don't freak yourself out." He swiped his key card and entered the first-floor hallways. The fluorescent lights flickered. He muttered under his breath and moved on. The CCTV monitors in the security office blinked, showing empty corridors. Marcus sipped his lukewarm coffee and scanned each feed. That's when he noticed room 317. At first, he thought he imagined it. There was movement, something on the bed swaying. He leaned closer. "Nothing. It's late. I need sleep, not nightmares," he whispered. Chapter 2: Room 317. At 2:34 a.m., Marcus made his first real round. The halls were silent except for his footsteps and the occasional drip from a leaky pipe. When he reached room 317, he noticed the door was slightly ajar. "Hello?" His voice sounded braver than he felt. "Anyone here?" The room was empty. The bed was bare. The shadows seemed to stretch along the walls. Marcus shone his flashlight around and froze. A trail of blood ran from the bed to the window. His stomach twisted. He fumbled for his radio. "Dispatch. I think there's been a..." A low, guttural sound interrupted him, echoing from the corners of the room. The air turned icy. His flashlight flickered. In the reflection of the window, he saw it. A figure, pale as moonlight, with hollow eyes and a grin too wide for a human face. Marcus stumbled backward, crashing into a chair. The figure was gone. By morning, police found no blood, no figure, no evidence. Marcus felt like he'd seen a ghost. Chapter 3: Red Herrings. The next few nights brought more deaths. Each victim appeared in increasingly bizarre circumstances. The janitor, an older man with a criminal record, was caught near the morgue at 3 a.m., tools in hand. Yet the blood trail led elsewhere, and he was innocent. A night shift doctor, Dr. Lyman, vanished for hours without explanation. Rumors swirled about his strange nighttime behavior. A patient, Mr. Harker, was spotted wandering empty hallways at night. On CCTV, he didn't exist. Marcus tried to follow the patterns. Every night, the shadowy figure appeared on the monitors, always in the background, always vanishing when he approached. Chapter 4: The Obsession. Marcus began studying old hospital records. One thing became clear: every 10 years, on the anniversary of a devastating hospital fire, a series of mysterious deaths occurred. 17 patients had died in that fire, all in room 317. Now, 40 years later, the deaths were repeating. Marcus noticed that the figure in the CCTV always appeared near the newest victims, always pointing or watching. His obsession grew. He stopped sleeping, drank only coffee, and carried a flashlight everywhere. The hospital's corridors felt alive, breathing with shadows that moved just beyond his vision. Chapter 5: Behind the Morgue. One night, Marcus followed a trail of blood behind the morgue. There was a hidden door, old and rusted. He pried it open. Inside was a room frozen in time, old medical equipment, ritualistic symbols, and messages scratched into the walls: "I never left and I am already here." And there it was, the figure. Formless, black as smoke, hollow eyes that mimicked human faces, whispering in voices he recognized. Marcus froze. What are you?" he stammered. "I'm everyone, and no one," it whispered. Chapter 6: The Confrontation. Marcus realized the entity could possess people, explaining why the hospital staff acted strangely at night. He set a trap using the morgue's freezers and mirrors, hoping to confuse the spirit and contain it. The entity attacked, taking the forms of past victims. Marcus ran, dodging knives and falling bodies, using the mirrors to redirect its attention. Finally, he managed to trap it temporarily inside a sealed room, holding his breath as it shrieked and clawed at the walls. Chapter 7: Aftermath. By day, Marcus was hailed as a hero, though exhausted and pale. But signs of the entity's escape were everywhere: shadows in corners, whispers behind closed doors, reflections that didn't belong to him. At home, the whispers continued. The last thing he saw before sleep was a shadow in the corner of his room, eyes hollow, grinning impossibly wide. "You're never really off shift, Marcus." "I'm already here." I started my night shift like any other, coffee in hand, screens flickering softly, elevators humming in the distance. Ridgemont office complex has been abandoned for years, but someone still has to keep an eye on it, me. The first few hours were uneventful. Occasionally, the cameras glitched, showing black squares or a brief static burst, but nothing serious. Around 2:13 a.m., however, camera 9, the third-floor west corridor, flickered. I thought I saw a shadow at the far end, impossibly tall, just standing there. I told myself it was a trick of the light and moved on. But later, when I walked the same hallway, I noticed scratches on the wall that weren't there before. A word was smeared in what looked like rust or blood: stay. I left early that night, uneasy, and swore I wouldn't go back. But rent doesn't pay itself. I convinced myself I was imagining things. Security work can mess with your mind after 2 a.m. But when I arrived that night, the first thing I saw on the monitors was movement, crawling along the ceiling. At first, I thought it was a prankster, but the shape was wrong, limbs bending like metal, elongated and unnatural. I grabbed my flashlight and walked the third-floor corridor again. Nothing. The hallway was empty. But my radio buzzed with static, whispering something faint, like a voice just out of reach. By 4 a.m., I noticed the scratches on the wall had moved. They weren't just on one hallway anymore, they were forming a trail, leading toward the stairwell. I felt eyes on me. I tried to call in sick. I almost didn't show up. But there was no one else to cover. The night started quiet. Too quiet. At 1:47 a.m., I heard the first knock. Not from the hallway, from the inside of the office. I checked the doors, everything was locked. Then I saw it on camera 12, the main lobby. Someone, was standing at the far end, but the cameras never show anyone entering from outside. I went to investigate and found the lobby doors had a latch that wasn't there before, rusted shut from the inside. I was sure I had locked them. By the end of the shift, my flashlight flickered out, and I swear I saw the figure standing behind me in the control room's reflection. I spun, but nothing. Just my own reflection, pale and sweating. I barely slept the next day. By night, I was a mess of coffee and nerves. Cameras showed nothing at first, until I noticed movement in the vents, long, dark shapes crawling along the metal. The monitors flickered, showing distorted faces pressed against the vents, grinning. When I walked the corridors, I could hear something moving above me, scratching against the ceiling. My flashlight revealed nothing, but I could feel it watching, pacing, waiting. Then I noticed new words on the walls: "Don't leave." I couldn't bring myself to call anyone. Ridgemont had become a trap. Around 3 a.m., the lights went out completely. My radio screamed in static, then silence, and then a whisper: "You belong here." I ran to the elevators, but the buttons wouldn't respond. The shadows were all around me now, crawling from the walls and ceilings. I could hear breathing, slow, deliberate, echoing my own. I made it back to the control room, slamming the door shut, but the monitors now showed my office, and something standing behind my chair. I dared not look. By the time the sun rose, the building was quiet again, but I didn't feel alone. The scratches were gone, replaced by a single word etched deep into the desk: stay.